Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At AnfieldIndex, we've teamed up with LiverpoolFC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride in style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
It's done.
Connor McDavid! It's not real!
The goal of the year.
Panarin!
Part of the past. The celebrations. Forgotten. The history.
Vegas Golden Knights!
History. We're back to a blank slate. Clean ice. All that matters now is what happens next. The Stanley Cup playoffs.
Eastern Conference Final begins Wednesday.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your season review podcast. I am one of your hosts for this series, Guy Drinkel, because I'm not from Manchester and nor am I sound anything like Nina. But I'll introduce my guests and we'll get through this weird podcast, because I did the first one and it was a weird feeling talking about Klopp in the season. But I'll introduce my guests and we'll get into that. Trev, how are you doing?
I'm good. I like how you phrase this. We'll get through this. I honestly, when I was considering this earlier on, very briefly, I haven't put any thought into this deliberately, not out of not doing my homework, just deliberately, because I wanted to be spontaneous. But it did feel a bit like, with all due respect to the very nice company I'm going to be keeping during it, it did feel a bit like, I wanted it to be done after the fist bumps on Sunday, but I get where we're going, and actually I think it might be helpful to work our way through it. So yeah, looking forward to it in a way.
Don't worry, I did no homework either. And you heard him chuckling there. We have Jim with us as well. How are you doing, Jim?
I'm doing okay, I think, yeah. I'm getting used to this idea of Klopp not being the manager, but it's going to take a bit of getting used to, isn't it? Nice long summer. Won't feel that long though, will it? To get used to the idea and get used to what's coming in. But yeah, it does feel a bit weird though. Just feel a bit weird. As soon as we start saying former manager Klopp, it's going to sound weird, isn't it?
And the first slot pun when someone scores a goal, it's going to be like, oh dearie me.
Oh no.
But we will go through the season. I've got a list of questions just to keep all the podcasts in check. And Trev, I'll start with you. Favourite and worst matches of the season. Well, do you want to start with the negative or the nice?
Negative, I suppose. And I'm not going to go for the cliche. I'm not going to go for the cliche one, which was, theoretically where it all started to go wrong, was the cup defeat against United. For me, the league game there was worse. The league game against them was worse. I just It was painful. And that whole sequence of league games where the thing was slipping away from us, for me, and it's a little bit of a cheat, but it's an amorphous blob of sort of slowly dissipating hope, right, over those few games.
Yeah.
I can't pin it down to one moment. There were several moments. Raw is full of me being just really fucking angry about things that happened on the park and things that should have happened on the park and decisions that should have been given and weren't given and might have actually helped us out when we really needed it because we were shit. And so the whole thing just, I will be completely honest with you. I have some people on this channel, the likes of Dave and Carl, seem to have this incredible match recall, which is something I don't have. I just don't have it. I barely have season recall. I'm not trying to make out the fact that I'm some sort of a daft, lame brain. I just don't have that capacity to remember details within a match and then we went one up and then we went two down, whatever it happens to be. So for me, that's exacerbated even more by the fact that everything's shit. So I don't tend to remember that stuff. I tend to blank that out. For example, Champions League final 2007, I could not tell you what happened. No idea. All I know is we were the better team on the night and I was fucking furious afterwards. That's all I know. And people will tell you the details. I vaguely remember, I think Dirk Kuyt was involved in scoring a goal in a 2-1 defeat. That's all I remember. I've got no match details because I was so annoyed. And similarly, in this spell, that whole little bunch of fixtures just blended into each other as a sort of morass of awful. And because we were given a couple of chances to get ourselves out of jail as well by other people being shit, and we still couldn't grab it, which exacerbated the sort of annoyance that I was feeling. So yeah, it has to be that period of time, that fixture, that particular period of time for me, because it was just so grim, because it was hope disappearing and all the potential that I'd felt really, really viscerally earlier on the season, especially in my favourite game, was starting to evaporate, and you could see what happened, which was the kind of limp enough ending that we had to endure, which is like top four, but it's nowhere. We're nowhere near the actual champions. Like what is it in the end? Is it 9 points? Is it something like that? And it's just it was hard to take when it was in our hands, Guy.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to have a similar answer unless they really hate each in the first game of the season or something like that. But I'll do the other half of that coin with you, and then I'll go to both the answers with Jim. So, favourite? What's your favourite game memory? Because we've had moments. I mean, the last game of the season is not a game to remember, but certainly moments to remember. So, I'll expand it to moment rather than game.
Right. So I was lucky enough. The last game I was over at was January 31st, where we played Chelsea at Anfield. And I was lucky to be in the crowd for that. And I brought my pal over, who is a City fan. And he was very enthused about getting to Anfield and all that kind of thing. He's one of the good ones, and he's been a City fan, as long as he's been alive, which is just a bit shorter than me. So, you tend to give those guys a lot of credit.
He's not plastic.
He's not plastic. Let him wallow in his glory days. It would be my take. But he was he was just enthusing over everything. We got a lovely, bright sort of winter's day to get around the city. He got to see loads of stuff. We did all the kind of touristy things. I got to, bring him around, show him all the cool stuff that he wanted to see. And that match was amazing. And so the highlight of the match was just at one point me celebrating wildly and then realizing that I was getting this sort of bear hug from the side and slightly behind. And it was from my City fan pal who's losing it in the moment with the enthusiasm of how much and how intoxicating it was to be a Liverpool fan in the ground, in the stadium against Chelsea that day when we were so superior to them, blew them away. Everyone was brilliant. Everyone looked world class. Everything seemed possible. And it was encapsulated in that moment for me where I was like, holy shit, even my pal, who's a title rival fan, was caught up in the excitement of it, caught up in the genuinely for me and just to be part of what it is to be in Anfield when it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
The excitement of that and here the exact opposite of the other thing, the potential. The hope that was sort of building really strongly in me over the course of that match, just in that moment, really just felt massive, So that would be it for me.
Get Trev a season ticket because that was our last. That was our last good performance, I think.
Like madly enough, the man on the other end of the line here was good enough to arrange one time for me to get to see my beloved team as well, and I have the weirdest unbeaten Downey record. It's mental. It's mental. Like I've been to a lot of games, and I just. And if the reason I bring that one up, Jim, was because that was a game against Everton. I was like, it was sort of a end of season thing. Was there going to be much on it? And we had a few scares, but I emerged with my record intact, so I'll take that. Yeah. So I'm all for guys. Get that hashtag going, guys.
Absolutely.
Like, please do.
We'll whack a GoFundMe up afterwards. Jim, what do you want to go? Negative or positive?
I would have gone negative first to get it out of the way. But funnily enough, I thought of two games. I actually had two games down as a potential, and I didn't know which one to pick. So I think I'll pick my second of the two, because the two games I had down were the two Chelsea wins this season. Because I remember for a lot of the season we were looking back against the result against Chelsea when we drew. At the time, thinking that was good, good start to the season, playing them, getting a draw, that's fine. And as the season went on, we're thinking, God, that was a drop 2 points just because of how bad they were doing. And then that Chelsea game, as Trev explains, I mean, it's one of those moments where I think we went 5 points clear, probably games in hand and things, or played games more. I can't remember now, but what I do remember about it more than anything was how good we looked that night, how it just felt like, are we back? When you have those times when you're a fan and you think, God, we're back to being what we were when I was growing up. And it felt like that night, 100%. Obviously, the season didn't quite pan out that way, but they're the sort of promising signs that you can maybe build on and maybe take into this season, especially when you think how much the side had changed. And I can just remember Conor Bradley scoring and thinking, God, here's a young lad that's come from nowhere, and to use the sort of cliche, the future looks bright. But then, of course, the other game against them was at Wembley. And I was torn between the two, because as a game to watch, you were just going to sit down and watch a game of football for the sake of watching that game. Obviously, you want to watch the win at home against Chelsea. But I think that it was Klopp's last cup. We didn't know it at the time. We were on again one of these elusive quadruples, and all the rest of it at the time was all the talk. But, the League Cup was a big cup. For me, when I was growing up, we won that every year, it felt like. And we didn't win the FA Cup for a while.
Mm-hmm. It's our cup, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it feels like, and it always has, and it's been like that for me for years. So I totally get why people aren't keen on us going to it seriously, but I do enjoy it. And it, day out at Wembley, all the rest of it, if you get to go. But I just love the way that, the sort of turnaround from that big win at Anfield, and then them sort of holding us back and holding us back and holding us back, and then up steps one of the sort of big figures of the time under Klopp. Virgil just steps up and scores the goal. It was just one of those moments, wasn't it? And we talk about, this club exists to win trophies, and I get that. But over the course of a season, there's loads of amazing games you get to see, which may or may not lead to something great. You think that amazing night against Barcelona, it still would have been an amazing night, even if we hadn't gone on to win the European Cup. But it just makes it a bit better, doesn't it, when you know that was an amazing night that led to silverware. So, I do think, we should still enjoy games individually, and I'm the same as Trev. Try and forget them as much as you can when we've lost. But yeah, that game against them at Wembley was.
Hello there. Have you ever found yourself getting ready to watch the Liverpool match? You've got your mates round, you've got your drinks, you've got your snacks, you're all set to go. It's going to be a good day, and then you find out, the game's not actually being broadcast in your region. There's the heartbreak, there's rage, there's despair. there's fury, you're upset, you're looking for a solution. Well, we've teamed up with NordVPN to bring you a game-changing solution. That's right. With NordVPN, you can switch your virtual location to a country where the game's on live. It's like having a global ticket to sports, TV shows, and movies from all around the world. And here's the best part. If you go to nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex, you'll score the best discount on your NordVPN plan. Plus, our link gives you 4 extra months free on the 2-year plan. And that's what we call a winning streak. And if you're sitting there and you're thinking, what if it's not for me? What if I don't like it? What if I'm not getting the use of it? Don't worry about it. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's totally risk-free. I've been using NordVPN to catch all the Liverpool matches and TV shows that I'd normally miss out on. It's totally transformed both my weekends and my TV watching. And not only that, not only does it give me access to stuff from all around the world with the click of a button, it keeps all my data safe. It means that the miscreants, the ne'er-do-wells, what my grandmother would have called scallywags, who lurk on the internet to try and steal your information, can't get to your information. NordVPN keeps it safe for you. So don't let geo-restrictions bench you this season. Visit nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex and make sure that you're in the game, no matter when or where it's being played. Remember, it's not just sports, it's your all-access pass to binge-worthy TV shows and blockbuster movies from all around the globe. NordVPN literally unlocks the world for you and keeps you safe from the world. So don't miss out. Head over to nordvpn.com/AnfieldIndex and let the fun and games begin.
It was Klopp's last trophy in the end. It is our trophy. We keep our little record going. We're one further away from anyone else. City have tried to make it theirs in recent times, but, you know, even oil money can only go so far, can't it? I think, but yeah, we've got to get onto the game that was maybe the worst of the season, and it's one that I can't get out of my head, probably because it's recent and probably because it was local. It was just the derby game that, to me, I don't know, we were already out of the league title race by then, but the hype machine still sort of says you're still in it, and it looks at the mathematical possibilities until there isn't one anymore. Funnily enough, I never noticed any reports that said, oh, by the way, Liverpool can't win the league now mathematically. It was never mentioned, was it? Just that every game we played, there was this constant talk of, oh, we could still win the league if everything else goes our way. We'd lost it by then. And of course, they just sort of got themselves guaranteed to stay up. And they were trying to make out that they needed a point from it. They didn't. You know, it was done, and it was just that whole coincidence of us sort of coming to terms with us losing the league now, and then, you know, finally being able to relax in a game and not feel any pressure. And it just starts off with the awful music they play before they come out, the awful din playing at Woodison. It's just a nightmare of a game to play anyway, isn't it? It can be funny when we win, but it's just the whole vitriol. Just didn't need it. It was just the worst timing to have that derby. You know, it's a game every season that doesn't really pay any attention to the league table anyway, does it? It's always a difficult game. Well, not always. Divock Origi will tell you that. But yeah, it just felt like, I don't know, it was almost like it almost underlined how far we were from being what we thought. And the contrast to that Chelsea game we were just talking about was immense. But if anything, you know, we just sort of ran out of steam towards the end, didn't we? And I think if you look at the season as a whole, there were a lot more high points than low points in it, I would say. It's just disappointing the way it ended, I suppose.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.
Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America NA, member FDIC.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned running out of steam there, Jim. Klopp basically nearly said that himself in January when he did announce he was leaving. What was your initial reaction when he did announce he was leaving?
It was just shock more than anything, because normally when something like this happens, there's a bit of a rumour mill going on, isn't there? There's a bit of someone's heard something and someone's hinting at something, and you're just waiting for some confirmation one way or the other. Often new contract gets signed and it turns out it was all a bit of nothing. But in this case, I just don't think anyone had any real warning about it. It just hit us. He was going, and it was just that shock. Initially, though, I think I was more worried about him as well, because I'm thinking, for all he said that there's nothing wrong with him, is there something wrong with him? Has he got something that's maybe a bit more of a long-term condition that, when he's realising he's not got loads of years left in his life, he's thinking, let's let's do something with my family now while I still can. And obviously, as time's gone on, we've realised it's not that. But yeah, that was an initial worry. But then, of course, you're thinking, well, what's going to happen to us? And the thing that jumped into my head was, I think we mentioned it on a podcast the other day, did at the time as well, that Tony Wilson Granada reports. He was going around Liverpool City Centre doing the vox pops, telling local people what had just happened, that Bill Shankly was announcing he was calling it a day. And it just felt like the same. Obviously, the way it's delivered now is different. You don't get it by some reporter bumping into you on the city streets, but you get to hear about it however you get to hear about it. And you're trying to tell other people. And, there's people coming actually talking to you, wondering, like, I think Trev mentioned it the other day, is everything okay? And that's how it felt. It was such a shock. And I don't know, there's probably people on here who understand how grief works, and I've read things about it over the years. I've had people comparing job changes to the same processes that you go through with grief. And I think, there's a lot of similarities in it, in terms of like how long it takes you to accept it's really happening, and maybe some anger and things like that creeping into it, but no anger with him. And I think ultimately that's the thing, is he's done us a lot of good. He gave us our belief back. He gave us our joy back. He gave us, he was one of us. Felt like he was one of us. We were all together on all these adventures we went on. And it was just so sad that it felt like it might come to an end, because you don't know what's next. You don't know what's around the corner. We all knew it was going to happen at some point, and we probably would have said to ourselves that this would have been his last contract. So we sort of knew it wasn't going to last forever. But it just came so much of a shock. And I think I was also worried then about the rest of the season, thinking, well, that's it. That's going to be the end of our league title hopes. And I honestly don't think that it did do us anything. Certainly for most of the season, I don't think it played a part, because if anything, it felt like we went on a winning run, didn't we? For quite a while. I just don't think it hit us that way. The only issue is maybe towards the end, when players weren't playing the best and he was sort of trying to rotate. Maybe he didn't have the power over them anymore to kind of say, you're playing for your future, because they were only really playing for the rest of the season, weren't they? But, I still think he did the right thing in telling us in advance. I'd rather he did it that way than it leak out and having to deny it and all the rest of it, and people putting spin on it. But yeah, even the people who think they know everything about Liverpool didn't know about that, from what I can gather.
God, imagine Fabrizio Romano breaking that news. Deary me. Oh dear. But Trev, that it was weird. It was a Friday, wasn't it? Because if I remember correctly, it was press conference on the Thursday, and everyone was like, why is this happening today? Yeah. And then all hell just broke loose. So what was your initial reaction, Trev?
Was it February, lads? Was it in February?
Was it February? Was it January? I can't bloody remember.
Sure. I don't feel like I knew when I was over there, and that was January 31st. Then maybe I did, but it didn't feel like, I don't remember that being part of the experience. Maybe it was. I can't remember. But it was very early in the year anyway, either January or February. What I will tell you is, as Jim said, I was saying it on Raw the other day, people are more worried about me than I was worried about myself. I've gotten into the habit of being very stoical when shitty stuff happens. And so I was kind of like, that's what happens. And,
it was January 26th, Trev.
There you go. Okay, so maybe I was in denial. In fact, I must have been, because I remember I was talking to my pal Al on the way over and saying, "Hey, you're going to be able to see the stand will be open for the first time," and they were the things I was focusing on, stuff like that, as opposed to, "Oh, you get to be there when I'm there for the last time I'll ever see your Klopp team playing, likely," So I must have been in denial. I think a lot of us were, and in that initial period. I needed to see the video because I read the words first, secondhand, and then I saw the video. And the video there's that one that meme everyone has was just Klopp with his face kind of like set in a kind of grim smile, and I'm running out of energy. And I thought, like Jim, I was worried about the kid. And so I just said, what the hell is happening here? Is he going to be okay? Because why would you leave? As far as I could see, the fella seemed to be reinvigorated. He seemed to have a new lease on life. I would have thought that he looked maybe a bit world weary the season before. And I thought everything was on such a high that I was shocked to hear these sentiments coming from him. And maybe he had just sort of lurched into another season against his better judgment, and then all of a sudden realized, despite how good things were, he wasn't able for it, or he didn't have the motivation, whatever his rationale was. And it's completely his decision to make. I do love that he went on his own, of his own volition. I do love that he went on his own terms. I do love that he went with so much goodwill. But the initial reaction to it was how I react to all bad news. It's like, it's almost a defiant kind of, that you're not knocking me over. That's fine. I'll get on with it. But I didn't want to take in how massive it was. And listen, let's be honest. We're here a couple of days into the reality that Arne Slot is the new manager, and we have this whole new era to look forward to. And I'm as upbeat as anybody about that, and as optimistic as anybody about that. But it does feel shitty to be doing it without Jurgen, because he has, I think, like little ducklings, we've all imprinted on him, in that way that ducklings do. And a lot of people, a lot of grown men, I've heard express feelings of,
hello, I'm here to annoy you. I'm here to annoy you into listening to more of me and more of others on EPL Index. We don't just have the Anfield Index stuff. We've got EPL Index as well, which covers the entirety of the Premier League. And we have 3 podcasts and a whole bunch of really good writing on EPLindex.com. The podcasts are my own two-footed podcast, which is every day at 4 p.m, Monday through Friday, covering the whole league. We have A Tad Predictable, hosted by Tadiwa. You know Tadiwa, he does Anfield Index. He presents A Tad Predictable before every Premier League match week. And then Kevin De Vries and his crew on the EPL Roundtable, they're every week after the Premier League match week. So make sure you listen to everything we're doing on EPL Index and follow us there on Twitter at EPL Index. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Loss, confusion, grief, in a way that I wouldn't be comfortable doing myself, but I'm absolutely happy for them to do it, and it's their right to do it. And it just shows you how powerful and charismatic a character Klopp was for the fan base. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know what's wrong with me, lads, but over the last couple of years, I'm like I say, I'm just increasingly stoical. Like I haven't squeezed a tear or had a lump in my throat watching any of these videos. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I'm dead inside, but I can't I can't bring myself to be all teary about it. But I'm under no illusion as to what a remarkable epoch changing event it is, and I will miss the man immensely, because I like him very much as a fella, the kind of way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a strange pre-season's always crap, but it's going to be a weird one as well. I'm almost glad the Euros are on to distract us somewhat,
Yeah, I'm nervous about all the initial piss taking that will go on about Slot. I'm really nervous about that. It started already. It's going to become a barrage of stuff that most Liverpool fans won't be able to ignore. And there was something about Klopp. Nobody was taking the piss out of Klopp. He's a kind of big alpha male fucker, and you're just not going to take the piss out of him. And as well as that, he was likable, charismatic, all those things.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not casting any aspersions on Slot at all. I don't know what he's like as a man. I've seen a few snippets, but it's a chasm, a massive void that's left, and it's a big ask for anyone. I don't know what you guys think, but it's a big ask for anyone, let alone a lad who has stuff to prove.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether that's part of the reason why the club's changed the job title from manager to head coach. So that gives that feeling that he's less of his fault, or if you like, or maybe less for him to get the credit for, however you want to look at it. The thing I'm going to miss most, and it could still come back, is on the whole how united we've been as a fan base since Klopp came in. Because on the whole, we've all been pulling in the same direction. We might not have always agreed with every little thing he's done, but we've never kind of doubted his reasons for doing it, and and him having the belief. And it's felt like we've not done that much arguing amongst ourselves. Certainly not about the football. We've all agreed when it's been a crap game. We've all agreed when it's been a great game. And that kind of that went away. We didn't have that when Souness was manager. We didn't have that when, towards the end of Houllier being boss, maybe half the time Rafa was here, there was all the divisions because of the owners. We all pulled together when Hodgson was the boss because we all hated him. But this sort of infighting and this sort of toxic feeling that you get when with your own fans is horrific. And I hate that side of the game when that starts to happen. And obviously it happens more on social media, but on the whole, the toxicity towards Klopp has not been from us; it's been from other fans, and that's fine. That's part of football. That's the rivalry. I can deal with that to an extent. But yeah, that's going to be, it's going to take a while for Slot to be able to get us all on the same side, because you just know it, that there's plenty of people just waiting for him to do something wrong. And that's the bit I kind of hate sometimes about being a fan, that you've got to deal with that. And well, at least we get the chance to have a go about it on these podcasts, though, don't we? At least we get a chance to kind of explain why we think that's the wrong thinking. And I've got no issue with people disagreeing with the manager. It's just sometimes you feel, are you doing it for the right reasons? Do you want the club to be better? Are you saying anything that you would actually say to him if you actually sat down with him now over a coffee or something? And a lot of the time, the toxic stuff, you wouldn't, would you? You wouldn't say that to anyone to the face.
You're telling me you don't miss the days of Sacco versus Lovren and committee signing against Brendan signing and all that?
Yeah.
What a
the
time.
ones where, when it was the committee signings, when it was bad, and it was Brendan signings when it was good, or vice versa, depending on which camp you were. God, all those camps. I mean, I just hope we burnt the tents and we don't have to go back in those camps again.
Absolutely. Never going back to that bollocks. Right, on to an easier subject. Trev, I'll stick with you. We'll do player and young player of the year. I mean, should we start with young player? Because that seems a more interesting conversation, because we've had a lot of breakthrough players this year. I think there's been one standout from what I've seen on the reaction of Twitter, but we've had a good handful of young lads come through. And I suppose the rationale is, do you count Elliott? Because he's been in the first team for like 3 years now, but he is still young.
Yeah.
But, yeah. What's your rationale, and who are the names you're going with?
Yeah, well, I went round the houses on this one, and even decided in the end to include Harvey. And even with his strong finish to the season, and even with the emergence of Jarell Quansah as a ridiculously calm presence in the first team for a kid who had as little experience coming into the season as he did, I'm hugely impressed by that guy. I'm hugely impressed by him. And I found it. You were talking earlier on about how people wouldn't say the stuff, Jim, that they say online if they were in front of someone. It's a bit like when you're in a car and you call someone all sorts of things because you're car hard. But
and then you realise you've got your window open and you're like, oh my God, get me foot down, get out of here.
Please change lights quickly. Yeah. I don't, I saw some criticism of Quansah based on a mistake in a game when we were in the middle of a period of time where like high profile, hugely experienced footballers were making equally egregious mistakes. And it just seemed to be the type of pile-on that I noticed happens with Curtis Jones as well, and can happen with a lot of the younger players. So it was very close for me, and it sounds as if I'm handing the gong to Kwanzaa, but I'm not. I'm giving it to Conor Bradley, because for me, Conor Bradley had a lot of pressure on him, even though you could say that, it's a nothing to lose situation. It's not a nothing to lose situation. It's a hiding to nothing, trying to replace one of the best footballers in the world. And he came in and made us not miss Trent Alexander-Arnold. You can't say anything better than that about that period of time with Conor Bradley in the team. He almost wins it hands down for me because of that. I was so impressed with him, and again got to see him live in that game where he was outrageously good. But it wasn't just that; it was the whole period that he came in and started. He was just brilliant, and to endure what he endured in a personal way and come back and be on the fringes and around and capable of contributing at a high level. And you can see that it hasn't tailed off. He's going to be good, this kid. For me, he gets Young Player of the Year. Do you want me to go straight into player?
Yeah, why not?
So obviously the glaring choice for the best performer over the course of the year is Virgil van Dijk, and the second best performer over the course of the year for me, in terms of putting in a shift in a position he didn't want to, and then being allowed to play and be absolutely I think shockingly world class for some people is Alexis McAllister. So they're the two obvious shouts, but I'm just going to be a contrarian prick, because that's what I am. And I'm going to say that for me, in the same spirit as Connor coming in for Trent and being brilliant, I'm going to just be outrageously patriotic here and give the shout to Caoimhín Kelleher. And I'll tell you why. I'll tell you for why, as they say, because he was there when we lifted the only pot of the season. And he stood in for Ali Becker, who is head and shoulders the best goalkeeper in the world. I won't have anything contradict me on that particular point. And again, after a possibly slightly shaky start, none of us felt as if we were screwed now because Ali wasn't in the team. And that is a remarkable achievement for that lad. To the extent, Guy, that I have seen some lunatics suggest, oh no, yes, that if only we could have kept Queeve in the team, then perhaps we would have won the league. So that's how let me just say, he was so convincing in his time, and his era, his little stint in the team was so good that fellas can actually be justified in making a ridiculous statement like that because he was so good. So it's a completely out of left field shout. I'm sure other people will go for the more obvious ones and probably more deserving ones. But for that very considerable period of time where he came in, didn't let us down, and kept us on track for every fucking trophy, it's Kev. Big Kev.
No, I like it. It's weird because Quee's he had that first season where he did look like a child, and we had those mad cup games against Arsenal, and then we had the domestic cup years, and he was just fantastic.
Yep.
Then last year, was it the year before? Time is a construct. But there was one year where he felt like he fell off a little bit, wasn't it? It might have been last season.
It was last season.
And then it was like,
hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
I'm Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I'm Curtis Jones.
I am Cody Gakpo.
Putting on the Liverpool top for the first time, it was a dream come true, and I'll never forget that moment.
The new LFC 24-25 season Nike home kit is out now.
Buy it today, along with our new goalkeeper kit and training range at your official LFC stores. Online at liverpoolfc.com/store and on the official LFC store app.
You will never walk alone.